Earth, fire, air, Avatar Legends, coming soon to Tabletop Misfits.
This is the week we come back from Gen Con, our newest episode of Tavern Talks. Tavern Talks episode 81. So we are approaching quickly on that triple digit time frame, which in my opinion is absolutely incredible. Tonight, once again, we bring a new guest. And this guest, before we let him talk, I'm just going to give a little bit of a background on what this works for me. So I'm local to the Virginia area, and I heard about this on Facebook of an improv group just about 30 minutes away from me that was doing Dungeons and Dragons on Friday nights. And I went, sure, let's go check this out. Now, when I did that, I did not know what I was walking into. But I'm so glad I went. The comedy, the costumes, the improv is absolutely incredible. And who better to get on the show for a show that's based pretty much off of nothing, and just how I want to talk, is bringing Sean on, who's their game master for Pushing Dragons. So before we dive into our adventure and find out what character he's bringing to the tavern tonight, let's let Sean have a couple words. So go for it, Sean.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. So my name is Sean Devereaux. I am the co-owner of the Push Comedy Theater in Norfolk, Virginia, and I am the dungeon master for Pushing Dragons. And essentially, it is an improvised Dungeons and Dragons game. We have a group of improvisers that act as our player characters, and then we have a group of improvisers as our monsters and NPCs. And it's a mix of D&D and improv and LARPing and cosplay, kind of rolled into one. We have giant die, 20-sided dice that we let the audience roll for the players. So any attack rolls or ability checks, the players roll, the audience rolls for the players. In normal Dungeons and Dragons, when you get a 1, it's a critical failure. So if an audience member rolls a 1 for a character, they then have to give that actor a quirk or a flaw that they then have to incorporate into their character for the rest of the show. So it could be speaking with an accent, speaking in rhyme, having some sort of like ailment or affliction. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. This is coming up next week is going to be our 9th show. We're a monthly show now, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to make it. I'm going to try to make it again. As long as it doesn't sell out, which lately I don't even get a chance to catch it because I'm like, it's sold out.
Yeah, I would say it is. It is. We're only like 100-seat theater, so it sells out pretty quick,
which is awesome. But no, Sean had the opportunity, or Sean offered me the opportunity to go down and check it out. Sat there, watched a great show, got a chance to talk to all the actors, and what an awesome opportunity. And now, once again, before we jump in, Push Theater is an improv theater. It's in its own, and you guys do pretty much something daily, correct?
Yes. So we have shows every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and most Sundays. And then during the week, we teach classes in improv and sketch comedy. So, yeah, it is a full time job on top of my full time job. Right now, we have a second location that kind of acts as a rehearsal space and classroom space. I'm in our office, and it's kind of becoming our dumping ground for all our Pushing Dragons props. This is our mimic costume.
Oh,
right here.
That's fantastic.
In the background. So it's big enough that actually an actor can fit in there. And it's been, like I said, it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. So for people brand new to the channel, we're about to dive into what I call the adventure mode. Now, what this is we're going to walk through, we're going to ask questions, we're going to dig into the deep portions of a character that Sean has been just asked to create. Now, the goal is that we can somehow do a collaboration where it doesn't make completely nonsense, but it's not so developed that you're like, wow, somebody started this. So the goal is to kind of find that happy medium. So, Sean, tonight we're going to a small town by the name of Hamlet. And Hamlet is a small fishing village. And some of you have probably heard of Hamlet before. But Hamlet's small fishing village on the west side of the town has a beaten down, completely tattered inn that an old dwarven woman has taken up as her domicile and pretty much bed and breakfast. Now, this lady is probably physically looks like she's in her 80s, 90s, leans on kind of this, leans forward slightly at an angle, always has her hand resting on the back of her back. And she is the kind of the gatekeeper of Hamlet when people come to find some sort of respite. So as you're entering this town and you're walking through the crickety wood that's right outside of the doorway, and you open the door, what is everybody seeing as you're walking in?
What you are seeing is a small goblin, probably about 3 foot, maybe 3 foot 2 inches tall max. He is wearing kind of oversized leather armor that is still, you could tell, hasn't been broken in yet. It's still very, very stiff. He's carrying a halberd that is entirely too big for him. It's almost comical trying to watch him trying to enter the doorway with this giant polearm.
It's almost like cane motif, but the cane's way bigger on this side than it is below.
Exactly. Yes. He looks a little bit nervous, a little bit unsure of himself. You can tell that he's not very comfortable in his own skin. And he walks up to the bar. And again, there's a kind of like a comical moment as he's trying to lean his halberd up against the bar without it falling over, and then trying to climb up onto the bar stool in this leather armor that does not have a lot of give just yet.
Okay.
But he finally gets up there and he kind of plops down and he asks for an ale.
And you would, as expected, the woman takes an extraordinarily long amount of time going from one side of the bar to the next. And interesting enough, you the way you see her move, it's kind of like she slides. And then you realize that you hear the little tracks of wheels that kind of move behind it, as it's the only way she can move fast enough to keep up with the bar. She slides down to a point, steps down 2 things, disappears for about 2-3 minutes, pops back up, slides across again like a typewriter, and plops down a thing of ale in front of you. And she looks over at you and she goes, "Now, young sir, it seems you're new here. I've never seen your face before. But tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?"
My name is Portho. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. And I am a local, I would say, sword for hire. I am trying to make a name for myself in this world. I left my family, my clan. We have my family lives up in the hills, and I wanted something more for my life, and here I am.
All right. So, the next question I'm gonna ask is, what would bring Portho, like he's a sword for hire, but what would make me want to hire him?
He has this. He has probably has more passion than talent at this stage of the game. He is incredibly eager. So, like I said, I would say he's probably a very young goblin. I would say the equivalent of like maybe 18, just turned 18 years old and has left home for the first time. Just incredibly eager, but not very skilled at this point in time.
Okay. So it looks like these might be pass-me-down clothing or stolen clothing.
Yes, I would say everything.
All of the above.
All of the above. You can tell that the leather armor that he is wearing is different, made from all different sorts of pieces of scavenged leather that his tribe has probably found along the way. Nothing on him matches in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Is there anything specifically that kind of stands out about either the armor or the halberd itself that would kind of just give off this strange question about it?
Strange question in what way?
The uniqueness of it. Is it just a simple halberd, or is there some sort of engravings? Is there some sort of filigree on it? Is there battle damage to the halberd? Same with it sounds like the armor kind of would just be, unless there's a point within the armor that would give off a unique style or image to it. The armor is just kind of patchwork, is the way it sounds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the armor is patchwork. I would say the halberd, in a way, is patchwork as well, in the sense that the staff of the halberd is looks relatively new. It looks like it was hand carved from a tree. The blade, though, looks incredibly old. The blade of the halberd, you can tell that the blade was not was on a different staff at one point in time, and either Portho or someone close to him took the blade and crafted it onto this new handle for him.
Okay, so the blade and the handle are completely, they don't connect.
Yeah, they do not connect, yes. Well, they connect that they are now one. I mean, it is a solidly made weapon.
Right, but you can tell that they weren't originally.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, awesome. one thing, so for people who are brand new to the show, one thing we're doing is on our Discord, you can actually put questions in that we ask our guests. And one of the ones that I keep getting is, what do they do when no one else is around? Are they relaxed? Are they tense? Are they curious? What is their kind of demeanor that they rest on when there's no one else around?
I think he is always on edge a little bit. I think being a goblin in a settlement of humans and elves and dwarves, I think that makes him a little bit nervous. I think he is aware of the fact that his desire to be an adventurer far exceeds his current skill level as an adventurer. So I think he does spend downtime training as much as possible, but you can tell that if you catch him off guard, he does have this look that he's not 100% sure what exactly he's doing.
So he's gonna second guess himself a lot.
He will. Yes, he will second guess himself a lot. His father was the one who crafted the halberd for him. And the family's motto, the clan's motto, has always been run. But when his father realized that nothing was going to dissuade Portho from kind of taking up this adventuring lifestyle, they came up with the halberd because you can attack from far away.
Yep.
And so stick and move is kind of like his go-to fighting style.
So the way it's sounding then is really his motive was to just see the other side of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's sounding so. So outside of being a sellsword, what is his goal? What is Portho's goal?
I think his personal goal is the fact that he comes from a long line of cowards, and I think he wants to prove to himself that he is not a coward, like his father and brothers and uncles and every other goblin in his clan. He doesn't want his motto to be run. That being said, he is still, I would say his cowardice has still exceeds his bravery at this point in time, which is why he still has the halberd. He does like the idea of being able to attack from a little further distance than you would with a normal sword. And he is not above sticking somebody and then, hiding under the nearest bush.
Okay. The interesting combat style, but I can see where it's coming from.
Yeah. It's not something that he's proud
pull
of.
It out of the bush and then dive back in bush type feel.
Yes. It is something that he is working on and hoping to overcome, but he hasn't gotten there quite yet.
Okay, so I have to ask this question, and it's because the DM brain is starting to kick in, and it's dangerous. What class is this character? Because I can think of a couple of different classes that would be wicked with a halberd.
I would say, this came up to me. I actually, this past weekend, played my first game as a player in about 20 years. And I had this idea for either a goblin fighter or even a goblin paladin. But I liked the idea of that because with pole arms and halberds, you can attack from 10 feet away. So that's far enough away that he doesn't have to get up in melee range or 5-foot range. Plus, with the goblin has the nimble escape, so he can, as a bonus action, he can hide or disengage.
Okay.
So somebody else took fighter. So in the game that we played this past Sunday, I was a goblin cleric, but was
Okay.
definitely the same thing. Would pop his head up, cast bless or guiding bolt, and then find some place to hide until it was his turn again, and then he would pop back out again.
I don't know why my brain immediately went, I'm gonna be a goblin rogue with a halberd. Like dive out of bushes, sneak attack, run back in a bush. Like
Yeah, I like that. I was thinking of that as well, but
like cleric rogue hybrid. Or bad.
I was thinking rogue, but I want him to eventually grow into an actual skilled fighter, so he doesn't have to rely on the hiding. So that's why I like the idea of a fighter or even a paladin. Like,
yeah,
he wants, this little guy wants to take up some sort of cause, even though he's not quite sure what that cause is just yet.
So is this so I love this, right? Because this is how we take characters from this and we can add them to anything in our games. So now my next question is this going to be a long-term campaign that you're going to be running in, or is this just a one-shot that you got a chance to play in?
Ideally, it is going to be a long-term campaign. Awesome. Knock on wood, schedules and stuff like that. But we had a blast this past Sunday, and the idea is to get a game in at least once, maybe twice a month.
Nice. And Porthos was the character you brought.
Yeah. Portho Dirtwallow was the character I came up with.
Portho Dirtwallow. Awesome. So for our audience, this is where you guys can kind of help us out. Two ways you can help us out in this story. One, you can give more questions. So we've got one question out there that says, what does Portho think about before he falls to sleep? The second way you can help us, and this is more of just helps everyone, there is a tip jar on our front page. Now, before I say this and people start going, you're asking for money, it's not what we're doing. What we're doing is, as a community, you can pay the $25 as a community. So if one person puts 5, one person puts 5, that's 10 altogether. When we see the $25 come in, we send that $25 directly to our artist. And then our artist takes that opportunity and she crafts Portho. And anybody in the channel right now will get a Google Drive link at the end of this. You guys stick around until the end, but I drop the Google Drive link. And then if that character is funded, then that drops into that Google Drive link, and you can then use Portho in your game. And that's kind of the way we do this for our community. There's another way you can get it, and that's strictly based on if you have never played any of our been here before and you want to grab everybody that we've ever been guested with, you can do that over on our Patreon. But we'll talk about that later. So yeah, Portho, what does he think about before he falls asleep?
I think that is a great question. I would say Portho, I guess it depends on his day. If he's had a couple small victories, and I'm not even talking about battle, but the fact that he made it to this little town and in one piece, that's like for him that's
a victory to him. Yeah,
that is a victory that he hopped up on the bar and asked for an ale, and the woman behind the bar didn't laugh at his face and tell him to get lost. That is a victory. So on those days, I think he kind of falls asleep, almost picturing in his mind what life will be like when he is an adventurer. On the days that it doesn't go well, I think that kind of the fear and the doubt and uncertainty will start. That's always kind of like lingering in the back of his head, will start to creep in more than he would like. And it's usually this litany of his father just telling him to run all night long.
Before we end, and you might not know that because this is his first game, but what is the scenario that Portho is in right now at the beginning of your adventure?
Okay, so we and the one that I played Sunday, or the one that
Yeah.
we have created right now.
Both. If
Okay.
you got one for right now, let's do it.
So this past Sunday, it looks like we're playing kind of a mashup of Waterdeep Dragon Heist with some the DM got the new book that just came out, the that has all the heists, all the
the golden
yes, the golden
keys, I think it is.
Yeah, the golden keys. Yes. So it looks like our overarching goal is going to be robbing a casino, but right now it looks like there's some little bits of Waterdeep Dragon Heist thrown in as well. So we have just inherited a little tavern in Waterdeep that Volo has given us for helping out a friend. And Portho is already taking an old wine barrel that he's like made into his like a little bed for himself. So he's sleeping down in the basement inside a little wine barrel.
Nice. So this journey would kind of be getting some resources, things like that, to bring back to the tavern.
Yes. For him, like I said, I picked a cleric. He is a grave domain cleric.
Okay.
And he is, but the same thing, he's just really kind of trying to make a name for himself. But he has all these little doubts and fears.
I like to do this to my players, and I'm curious on this. What story-wise connects him to the grave cleric?
Okay, so story-wise, so his because the DM told us ahead of time that this was going to be a Waterdeep campaign. He grew up in Waterdeep. He's never stepped foot outside of the city. His little clan of goblins were kind of affectionately known as like trash goblins. They're basically like scavengers that just kind of that's how they make
urchins and
urchins and things like that. Never staying in one place, sleeping in abandoned buildings or down in a sewer tunnel or wherever they can find a little dry place. And one night they thought they were in an abandoned old warehouse, but it turns out it was kind of a lair for a necromancer who was doing some experiments on bringing up some undead. Okay. And part of the clan, not all of the clan, but part of the clan got wiped out by some of this undead. And when things were at their bleakest, some clerics from the who worship the god Kelivor, which is the god of the dead in the Forgotten Realms setting, came in and kind of saved, took out the undead and saved, what was left of this clan. And ever since then, that's kind of been his thing. Is
kind of like the focus now. It's like, these guys are awesome.
Yeah, these guys are awesome. He's still scared of his own shadow, but except when it comes to undead. We haven't faced any yet in this campaign, but I have a feeling that when it comes to undead, that's where he's going to be on the front line, front and center. But until then, he's all the way in the back, hiding underneath the table or something like that, poking his head out to fire off a spell or run up, hit somebody with his mace, and then disengage and take off running again.
That's awesome. All right. So I hope you guys have gotten a lot of information about Porthos and are excited to run him in your campaign. Now we're going to step to our second portion of our story, which is about the person. Now, our adventure is always great, and it's always fun to hear about the characters that our players are bringing into, especially the characters that players don't get to play. In this case, we got the luxury of him playing it, but as a DM, a lot of times we build all these characters played with our players, and a lot of them don't get more than a couple minutes of fame. So we give this kind of that option to add them to your game. All right, Sean, now let's hear about Pushing Dragons. So Pushing Dragons to me was extremely cool because I love comedy. I love Dungeons and Dragons, if you couldn't tell. And the connection just really hit off. And then seeing all of the costumes and the improv, I was blown away. I'm going to say it right now. I was blown away when I saw it the first time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So give us kind of a scoop down. Like, how did that come together? Because it's not D&D. I'm sorry, it's not D&D.
No, it is. It started out. I wanted to be as much as D&D as I can, but we are very limited in how we have to present it to an audience. The long version of it is during the pandemic, we had to shut down the theater for about a year and a half. We did some outdoor shows, but they really didn't work out as well. But we were doing a bunch of like online shows and things like that. And my business partner and I were just really kind of depressed because it was definitely touch and go there, whether or not we were going to be able to keep the business going. And the Push Comedy Theater this past November, we just celebrated our 8th year in business. So we've had a location here in Norfolk for 8 years, and we're idiots and we're really horrible businessmen. So it'd be one thing if we lost the business because we don't know what the heck we're doing, but it's another thing to lose it because of a pandemic that was completely out of our control. So I played D&D when I was a kid and all the way up and through kind of college, and then kind of fell out of it. And then I don't know, I was watching, just going through YouTube videos one day, and I stumbled upon a Matt Colville video, which his whole thing is getting people to start running D&D campaigns. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. So I got my business partner and a couple other of the improvisers at the theater and said, let's start playing D&D. We'll play, once a week on Zoom. And it was amazing. Like, yeah. Kind of actually like saved me, kind of got me out of, my depression a little bit.
I completely understand that. Mm-hmm. We started Tabletop Misfits probably like 2021. So we've been almost at 3 years now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that was the same thing. I had a home game going, and then it was like COVID hit, and I was like, I don't have a home game anymore. And then I realized how much I really missed it. And that collaboration, that camaraderie that you're getting every week from people coming over to the house, and you're building these stories together, and then it just
so it just disappears.
It was a weird feeling. So I can completely agree by the whole idea is, this kind of kept me from losing my mind because we were all working from home and we didn't have a lot going on. And it's like, what do we do? 100% agree.
So we started playing it again. It was a blast. The first campaign ended right about the time we started to open back up the theater. We were, doing maybe like 2 or 3 shows a month to kind of get back into it. And word had gotten out that we were playing this epic game of Dungeons and Dragons. Then all these people started coming to me as like, hey, can I play? Can I play? Can I play? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So the first campaign ended. So I started a second campaign, which was more like a West Marches style campaign where it was just a series of kind of like connected one-shots that, each session, would have a distinct start and end. That way, if somebody couldn't make it, we didn't have to like postpone a game.
Else in,
exactly.
Somebody around.
And that was a lot of fun as well because we were starting to play with new people and new energies that were coming into it. But then once the theater opened up full time again, my free time just became nil. So my day job, I am a marketing producer at Channel 13.
Okay.
And then nights and the weekends for the past 15 years, because we were doing this comedy thing even before we actually had a physical location, has been tied up with sketch and improv comedy. So we had to pretty much quit the game just because I didn't have enough time with everything else going on and getting the business back up and running. But it just kept nagging at me. Like, I really, really missed it. And then we started, and again, like, the legend of our home game became huge. And people still was like, hey, the next time you play, I want in. Like, all right, well, if it happens, you're on the list. And then Brad, my partner, was like, what if we did it at the theater? Could we turn this into an actual show? And, I've been a fan of like Critical Role and Dimension 20 and stuff like that. But I didn't want it to be us sitting around a table and having people watch us play Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And then we had a friend who knows some stage combat so we brought him in and was like teaching us like how to do. Now, granted, we forgot everything he taught us. Like, if you see the show, it's still pretty static when it comes to our combat and stuff, but we're still working on trying to make that better. But yeah, I would say it took us about like 3 or 4 months of workshopping before we finally got it into what it is right now. And like I said, it is very loose Dungeons and Dragons because we are limited to a 2-hour time slot as far as our show, because there's usually another show right after ours, like one of our regular improv shows, and we want to get the audience involved. So I come up with like a very loose outline of an adventure. Right. And I get the actors who are going to be playing our monsters or NPCs and tell them, all right, on this scene, this is what happens. This scene, this is what happens. The players really are kind of kept in the dark. But I do try to keep that as much as possible. They may know is like, when whatever happens in the scene ends, I need you to, exit through this door. Or exit in the back, and then I will call you guys back in. But I do try to keep them in the dark. But because we're limited to the stage, I had to get rid of like attacks of opportunity and bonus actions and things like that. But
yeah, it's very slimmed down Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
But like I said, if you enjoy the role play aspect of it, and you like the comedy and just the chaos of what Dungeons and Dragons really can be, this is an awesome way to see it on stage without just like you said, without being the Critical Role or Dimension 20 where you're just sitting around a table.
Right.
Not to mention
which show I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't know who it was, but the people who do your costumes are incredible.
Okay. Yes, I want to get into that. So our very first show, I let the actors kind of like up to their own devices as far as getting their own costumes. And we had 2 lizard folk that were part of one of the monsters, and the guys, they looked like they were in like some mid-90s German techno band when they came out. They had like green kind of like fishnet stockings that they were wearing as gloves, and they had like these weird kind of like steampunk goggles and these green fedoras with red feathers in them. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's your lizard folk costumes? And what we would do is we would show on our monitors what the monsters are supposed to look like.
Yep.
And the Brad, my business partner, he was the kind of like the end battle monster. He was playing a giant frog called Old Croaker that the lizard folk were worshiping. And he went, there's a costume place in Virginia Beach called Echoes of Time, and he went and got a 70s lime green pimp outfit that was like kind of like fuzzy, and that was his frog and a pool noodle that he used as a tongue. That was for our first show. That was like the extent of our costumes. And then we have this girl, she's one of our bartenders, and she was bartending that night. And she's a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan and also really big into cosplay. And she said, that was horrible. I'm like, what are you talking about? The audience loved it. It's like, I know they loved it, but your costumes were atrocious. So she appointed herself as our official costumer. It's not like I was like, hey, would you like to do this? She's like, I'm doing your costumes from here on out. She just kind of forced her way in.
Wow.
And she has been amazing.
Yeah.
I can't, Danny is, again, really kind of taking our stuff to the next level as far as like costuming and things like that.
Yeah, I was, the one I got to see was, I think, your offshoot of the normal story you were telling.
Okay.
So it was the Sea Hag and
Yes.
Kuatoa, which was ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who was running the Kuatoa, but oh my goodness, that man has no shame whatsoever when it comes to being on comedy.
Yeah, Matt. That was Matt Cole. And that's the other part about Sass is she gets really annoyed when a lot of the guys in the show will just wear their tidy whities underneath their costume, and at some point in time there'll be a wardrobe malfunction, and you'll see their bare ass or something like that, and that drives Sass nuts. But the audience, for some reason, loves it.
I was dying the episode I get to watch.
Yeah, that was really good. I was really sad that I killed off the Sea Hag just because that costume that she came up for the Sea Hag was astounding. Yeah, and you can actually. So we have a YouTube page. So starting with our third episode, we have the full length adventures online, because we are trying to tell one kind of like continuous campaign
story, if you can, as well as you can. Now, how many people are normally, because my brain just does not calculate that fast sometimes, how many people normally do you have on stage for a show?
So when we started out, we had three. So we have three player characters,
right?
Which you didn't see, but we have Elme, who is a half elf ranger. Jerry is a human wizard, and then Kazarian, he's a barbarian. Those were our main characters.
Okay.
And then so we have the three main characters, and then we have anywhere from 3 to 5 NPCs / monsters, and then we have our dice wenches. So we have 2 or 3 dice wenches that will be running to the audience, passing
the dice out.
Yeah, and they dress up as well as serving wenches and stuff, which is a lot of fun. Some episodes have gotten bigger. The one we did last month, the Jerry the Wizard from a main campaign ended up meeting the 3 heroes from the one shot that you saw. So if you remember, they got stranded on this island, and the campaign is each of the main characters have been split up to find a piece of an artifact. And Jerry's journey led him to this island where he had to join up with these 3 guys.
Those 3. Oh boy.
That have been shipwrecked. So there was a tribe of Utani. So we had 3 snake people, and then we also had sirens. So this was actually a musical episode. So we had a guy playing piano the entire show, kind of underscoring the entire show.
Wow.
And the 3 sirens are really good singers and improvisers, so they sang all their dialogue. And there were a couple points where they would get a word from the audience to inspire whatever song they would sing next. So all their songs were improvised.
That's incredible.
which that's probably been our best show. One of the characters, Brad, who played the dwarf in the show you saw,
Right.
came under the spell of one of the sirens, and the song he ended up singing was called Siren Vagina, which,
Of course it was.
yeah, you haven't lived until you've seen 100 people in the audience waving their hands back and forth singing Siren Vagina out loud. It's again, it's pretty dipshitty.
Yeah. Yeah,
we try to play it straight, but it goes to dipshit land real fast.
I will say it's very slapstick comedy. It's it's extremely improv. But if you are in the Virginia area and you're looking for a show on a Friday night, definitely check these guys out. I'm going to try to make it down, like I said, next week to catch the next episode. But I've been, hate to say it, people, I've been busy.
So, no, I completely understand. Yeah, you've been a traveling man.
Yeah, so just got back from Genghis Khan. We did an adventure version of what we ran for Plots in Darkenhaven for episodes 2, 3, and the finale. And that was our episodic adventure that we did on Sundays. I had the same group every day during the weekend, so we got to tell a small story the entire weekend with the same group of people. We used things like Last Game Board, which is a digital display. Our friends from GUI Cube pretty much hosted it, and that's designed most of our world in. And then, we added minis this time that was painted by one of the players. It was incredible. When I got the opportunity to do Gen Con 2 years ago as my first convention ever, and they're like, hey, come GM for us, I was terrified. But this was amazing to be able to up the game, right? Because that's really what it is every episode, every game you want to run something that's a little bigger. Yes, no, astoundingly average. You're absolutely right. If you're going to buy tickets early if you can. I also will say, though, it's not specifically for children, but
our show, yes,
13 and above.
I would say we try to keep it
PG-13.
PG-13 to light R. The Siren Vagina episode last month got a little bit racy, but
I brought my 16-year-old and he died. Like, he was dying laughing. So
I would say, usually it depends on, is it a mature 13-year-old or
right?
But yeah, I mean, we try to keep it as PG-13. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, like, if I saw this show when I was playing D&D as a kid, I would have been in love. Like, this would have been awesome. Something like this would have been awesome to see. Like my son is dying to come see it, but he's only 10. So I'm like, no, you're gonna have to wait just a little longer.
A couple more years.
Yeah. But
by that time, you'll be, you'll have a full costume team and a whole bigger stage.
Yeah, it's getting there. Like we said, the
house is packed. When I was there that episode, the house is packed. So the only option is to get a little bigger. No, I do want to ask one thing, because I did miss it, even though I was really planning on going, and really it's because conventions get busy, and convention prep gets busy, I guess would be the better option. Answer to that. How did MarsCon up? So MarsCon, before people, because a lot of people are not from Virginia, MarsCon is a small convention in Virginia, but I did know that Pushing Dragons was running a show there. So how did that one go? Because I know you would have a lot bigger of an audience.
That one actually went really well. Awesome. I would say I learned a lot at that show. Normally, our show is 2 hours with intermission at the theater, maybe 2:15. But this one we didn't have an intermission, and that hurt us a little bit, because I think just sitting there for like 2 hours and 15 minutes, attention spans can start to wane a little bit. So I think for conventions, I need to find a way to like knock it down to an hour and a half. But we had a huge crowd. I mean, and don't get me wrong, they loved it. But again, we didn't start till like 10:30 at night. So yeah, so that was working against us. But the feedback we got from people has been astounding.
Awesome. So I guess the best option would be is one of two things: either start a little earlier so you can run the 2.5 hours with people not falling off, or you got to find that intermission moment, just so that people can stand up, wiggle their legs, grab a beer, that kind of stuff.
Right, exactly. So that's the other thing. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of alcohol at the convention, and I don't want to say that we're drunks, but I would say.
I mean, with it being slapstick comedy, and in all honesty, dipshittery is kind of one of those things that you add a little bit of alcohol to it.
It goes better with a beer or two in you.
Yeah. No, Sean, it's been great, and we've been talking now off and on for the last couple of months, and it was just really cool to finally meet you guys, the entire team, and to see a show in person. And who knows? The Misfits are looking for guests all the time, so if we'd love to have you or one of your cast to come on, hang out with us for a week or two, play some games online.
Oh, we would love that. Like I said, I was very selfish. Well, not selfish. There was a lot of stuff going on. Like a couple of girls that are cast members in our game, they're actually performing a women's history show tonight at one of the breweries in town, and Brad's over at the theater teaching a class. So there was not a lot of other people available tonight, but they're all dying to show off on a podcast. So anytime you want more guests, let me know.
Will do. Yeah, no, definitely. And we can even talk about maybe doing something more local where we can get together and do some collaboration. I'm down for it.
We're completely down for that.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're closing in on our hour here. For all of the people who are brand new here, thank you for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Sean, once again, thanks for finding the time. I know it's hard sometimes. I know it's difficult for us to pull away from our day-to-day jobs and all of our other things that we're doing, but I really do appreciate it. It has been an amazing opportunity to just talk to a guest every week, and they're always different. I don't know how I do it, truthfully.
Yeah, I've been going through your back catalog of episodes, and I've been having a blast. That's what's so cool about just this hobby in general. Just like the wealth of different backgrounds and specialties that everybody is bringing to this game is really so cool.
It really is, and it's bringing such new variety to the game, which I think is absolutely awesome. Real quick before we go, I'm going to drop the link here for the Google Drive link. If you're still working to want to help us out in getting Portho created, now mind you, that's the wrong link. Let me grab this link because that's the link to your guys' show, which is a great show. But this link here that I just put out will give you the opportunity that if Portho is created, you could probably check back in the next couple days and he'll be in there. Now, there are two ways that can be done. One, the guest pays outright, which we haven't talked to Sean about that yet. So he's going to decide at the end of the show if he's going to do that.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. I'll do that.
He's covering it, guys. So don't worry about the $25 for the community then. Your job is then to go find a place for Portho to enjoy in your own game. And use the character artwork. And if you can, for any reason whatsoever, if you can't support a couple bucks, I understand everybody is tight on money right now. But if you can, and you're willing to, hop over to our Patreon. It's $3. And right now you get 6 to 7 paint artworks that have been created from guests on our show. Now, we just started this in October. And maybe later than that. My brain's not completely clicking on how long we've been doing this, but it hasn't been very long since we started bringing the characters to life. You can have them all. For $3 a month, you can have all the characters, and any character that comes in that month will be added to those artworks. We have some backlogs that we got to get in there, so just a heads up. Next week, I don't have the character, so keep an eye out on our social media of who the guest is for next week. But I do want to just give a quick shout out to Sean and to the Pushing Dragons team and to the entire Push Theater community out there in Norfolk, Virginia. Keep what you guys are doing. It's amazing. You guys have come up with something that's truly unique. For the people in the audience that are hanging out from there, keep it up. It's amazing. Just do it. And finally, just a big shout out. I'm wearing the shirt tonight. I haven't done a lot of promotions other than our own stuff and our guests, but tonight's show is actually sponsored by the Grand Dungeon Master. It's a t-shirt company. I'm running the Heavy Metal Bard right now, and they're an awesome US made t-shirt company, so go check them out. Sean, any last words you want to give before we sign out here?
No, I really appreciate you having me on to talk to me. Like I said, we've just been super pumped about our show. We just want to get the word out to people. Yeah. If you're ever in the Norfolk area, please come check us out. And like I said, our ultimate goal is to hit some more festivals and cons coming up. So, who knows? We may be coming to a town near you.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Hopefully we'll see you guys back on Sunday as we might be continuing our story for the One Ring. If not, we've got to check with all of our players. If not, I'll see you guys all next week. Oh, hold on. From where is it at? Where is what advice? Okay, real quick. And I do this because our audience are amazing. What advice would you have for those trying to get into improv stage performing? Let me grab that question first.
I would say, take a class. We have, probably wherever you're living, there's somebody teaching improv. If not, there is a book by the Upright Citizens Brigade. You can probably find it on Amazon. It's like an improv manual. Brad, my partner, and I, we went up to New York and studied at the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is a theater/improv school owned by Amy Poehler. So in the mid 2000s, we went up there and studied with her group, and then brought it back down to our crew here in Hampton Roads. But if there isn't an improv class around you, get a couple friends, buy this book, and it will kind of tell you everything you need to know. I would say take a class and then find people that are kind of like-minded in that as well.
Awesome. Last question, and it kind of stems off of this one. Where would somebody go to look for classes like this?
I would say
best resources that they could go to find these things.
There is, Reddit there's an improv subreddit on Reddit that you can ask, like, hey, does anybody know of classes in my area?
Yeah.
A lot of little theaters, if your town has a little theater, sometimes they will offer classes. And again, if you get enough people together, my partner and I always travel, and we teach corporate workshops in improv all the time, so we're always on the go teaching things. So depending on how close you are, it could be a quick drive, a road trip for one or the both of us to come and teach you and your friends some improv.
That'd be cool. All right, well, I don't want to keep you any longer, Sean. I know you've got a busy day and a busy week, but once again, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
This is Tavern Talks. This is where we bring a guest every single week to talk D&D and create their characters. I hope you come back next week and we see you then. Have a good night.